The last thing you're thinking of is having a number one record. The last thing you're thinking of is even ever making a record. Getting a number one record and then getting in the Hall of Fame, those things are just so far past anything you could imagine, you know. So when it does come about, it's, pretty shocking, because you look at who's in there. The nice thing about the Hall of Fame is this: you're being voted in by your peers. You're not being voted in by just a popular thing. It's the very same people you learn from. It's like your teachers kind of giving you a passing grade, and you look and there's 20 people being nominated and you're one of the 5 that actually make it. That means that, everybody was voting on you. Everybody from Jeff Beck to Paul McCartney was voting on you. And you're getting their approval. To me, that's pretty important. If it was a popularity contest, it would be different. But when it's those guys, giving you the passing grade, that kind of gives you a whole different, acceptance kind of thing.
I read that some artists have said it should just be called the Hall of Fame, the Music Hall of Fame. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, because you're stretching it on some things saying what's rock and roll. There's a few bands that I look at and I go, really? Is that rock and roll? But I think it would be better to call it the Music Hall of Fame. And everybody has their people that they want to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Everybody sits there and goes, well, how come the Moody Blues are not in? Everybody has their favorites. I cannot believe that Burt Bacharach is not in the Hall of Fame. He wrote more hits than the Beatles, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. I'm going there, how is that possible? When you say rock and roll, if you're calling all those songs that he wrote in the 50s, 60s, 70s not rock and roll, well, they were hits on rock and roll stations. They had to be rock and roll, So that's one that I don't get, Bon Jovi, there's another band that should be in the Hall of Fame. They did everything you're supposed to do. But it's also very eclectic, I went in with Tom Waits, Darlene Love, Neil Diamond, and who else was it? Could have been the right place, could have been the wrong time. Oh, what's it? Yeah. And so that was a very eclectic group to go into the Hall of Fame, because we were, if you looked at all of them, there was, I'm sure Tom Waits hasn't sold a ton of records, but he was very effective, and he was something that actually did something different. And same with a lot of people. You get people into the Hall of Fame that not necessarily a lot of records sell. Laura Nyro, people like that, but they affected so many other writers that gave them that jump. Paul Butterfield Blues Band, didn't sell a lot of records, but you listen to it, you go, oh my gosh, they invented electric blues, So that's actually how you get in. Getting nominated is the hard part. Getting voted on then is a different thing.
So you started a group called Hollywood Vampires with Joe Perry and Johnny Depp. Tell about the formation of that group and the story behind it.
Well, we were doing Dark Shadows in London, and Tim Burton and Johnny, and I knew Johnny was a good guitar player, and maybe more than other people did. And one night I said, we're going to go play the 100 Club after we get done shooting, and we're just going to be a bar band. No makeup, nothing, no props. We're just going to get up, whatever song anybody yells out, we're going to play. I said, you want to play? And Johnny says, sure. He comes down, and somebody would yell out brown sugar, we do brown sugar. Somebody said, back in the USSR. Okay, yeah, back in the USSR. We did a whole night like that, and I realized at that point, I was talking to him about the original Hollywood Vampires, who were the guys that would meet at the Rainbow every night and drink until the last guy standing. Now that was John Lennon, Keith Moon, myself, Bernie Taupin, Mickey Dolenz, and it went to Harry Nilsson, all these people. And I said, it would be great to put a band together and do an album for all of our dead drunk friends. Who they were. These are the guys we drank with: Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Mark Bolan. And Johnny said, that's a great idea. What do we do with it? Right as I said that, Joe Perry walked in. He goes, I'm in. Duff McKagan, I'm in. So right there you had a band, like 2 guitar players, a bass player. You needed a drummer, Matt Storm, and said, I'll do it. You know, Zach Starkey from Group, Critical Songs, I'm in. And pretty soon we're standing there, you know, doing these songs, Bob Ezra is producing them, you know, and Paul McCartney walks in. Now, when Paul McCartney walks in, it's one thing to be a friend of Paul McCartney, it's another thing to be in the studio with Paul McCartney. Because now you're in his world. You can't get any better than that when it comes to being in the studio. And we're all playing, you know, like a jam band, and then he walks in, he sits down at the piano. And he goes, okay. I wrote this song for Badfinger. If you want it anytime, come and get it. Alice, you take the middle part. Okay, yeah. So we all acted very cool. When as soon as he turns around, you know, we're all going, yeah, okay, that's a good idea, man. That's good. He turns around the piano and all of us go. Johnny's looking at me going, Bob Ezra. As soon as he turned around, we did the thing in 2 takes. And every time I see Paul now, he still goes, am I still a vampire? I smell blood all over you. So he's a vampire. And I think he might have done it just because, you know, not only does he really love to play music more than anything else, we were honoring John too. We did cold turkey for John, because John was a vampire every night. He was there every night, you know. And I think that Paul and John were like that. They might have argued and everything. If you said something bad about John to Paul, even at their worst time, Paul would get up and walk out of the room. If you said something bad about Paul to John, he'd take a swing at you. Because you couldn't say, you weren't allowed to say anything bad about his best friend. And that's how tight they were.
And you guys did a tribute to Lemmy.
Yeah.
Talk about preparing yourself for that, because Lemmy had a distinctive voice. So taking on that, those songs.
Well, Lemmy was everybody's best friend. I think everybody here has seen Lemmy play at one time, Motorhead. He was just such a mainstay in the business. Not just metal, just for almost every festival he played. And he was really the real deal. The last time I saw Lemmy, he goes, Alice, I quit drinking whiskey. So that's good. I drink vodka now. So I'm sure your liver knows the difference. But he was one of those guys that you couldn't find one person that would say anything bad about Lemmy. He was one of those guys that one of everybody's favorite guys. So when he passed away, and he passed away on his own terms, it was just a natural. In the Grammy Awards, what are we going to do? He said, well, everybody's paying tribute to Bowie, which is great, and all these people that died. I said, let's do Lemmy. And it was just, we got his hat, we got his amp, we got his guitar, put him on stage. And I think people appreciated the fact that he was truly rock and roll. Lemmy was truly rock and roll.
Question to the horror, the theatrics and everything. You also have a passion for golf.
Yeah.
Talk about how you became...
Golf can be a horror. No, I had an addicted personality, and I realized that there was no such thing as one beer. There was no such thing as one drink. One beer lasted me 15 years. There was just a constant flow. I had no idea that I was an alcoholic. I had no idea that I had an addictive personality. Then I started realizing, I was looking at my life, and I realized I love TV. I've got 22 TVs in my house, and they're always on at all times. I've been married for 40 years. I love my wife, but I'm also addicted to her. We're like inseparable. So everything that I really love, I do extremely. Obviously, rock and roll. I love playing Alice Cooper, so I'm going to keep playing Alice Cooper until it just doesn't work anymore. I had to come up with some addiction. I quit drinking. I got up one morning and threw up blood, and I thought that was a pretty good indication that I was going to die. And I said, I got to find something that will take up 4 or 5 hours that's going to addict me to it. I was a good baseball player. I said, so I would golf. I live in Arizona, I'll go hit a golf ball. And I went out and I hit the first ball and hit it right down the middle. Perfect shot. And the guy, the pro says, well, how long have you been playing? I said, about a minute. But when I hit that shot, it was a feeling of, there was some perfection in it. There was something that I really enjoyed, the perfection of the swing, the perfection of the ball going down the fairway. And then I thought, I am so screwed. Because nobody wants to see Alice Cooper play golf. So I had to really come to a point of really separating Alice from me. I realized that what killed Jim Morrison was Jim trying to be Jim all the time. What killed Jimi Hendrix was the exact same thing. What killed Janis Joplin was exactly the same thing. They were the character off stage and on stage. In order for you to do that, it's a very unnatural state. You have to fuel it with something. Drugs, alcohol, whatever. And eventually that's going to kill you. So I'm thinking, geez, my image is 3 times more intense than theirs. How am I going to live with Alice? And for a long time, there was no boundaries here. I didn't know when I was Alice or when I was me. And when I got sober, I decided, I am not going to be the same Alice now. If I look at the old Alice, Alice was a whipping boy. He was the outcast, and he represented all the outcasts. And he was the one that society hated. Even rock and rollers hated Alice. There was something about him being this loser that was on stage. They cut his head off, they do all this stuff to him, and everybody was rid of him, right? I decided now that I'm sober, I'm gonna make Alice this really insufferable villain. He's gonna be Alan Rickman times 10. You know, just arrogant as can be. And I think the audience is gonna like this version of Alice, because he's not gonna go up there beaten, he's gonna go up there in total control. And I found that Alice a lot more fun to play, you know, because it was something you look forward to every night. I'm nothing like that character. You know, I'm nothing like the character on stage. So for me to go up on stage and become, you know, this, you're all filth, you know. I said, that's going to be fun to play that character. And it still is. That's how I love to play the Alice characters, is this horrific villain. But, you know, he's also got a little Clouseau in him. So every once in a while he's going to slip on a banana peel at just the right time. So the audience gets a laugh out of him also. You know? But there were 2 separate Alices, 2 entirely different Alices. Early Alice was beaten. The other Alice that's sober was a much more aggressive winner.
Well, sir, thank you for taking some time. Ladies and gentlemen,